All right, welcome to this tutorial on Git command line in Android Studio. I say Android Studio because this is geared for students in the Udacity Grow with Google Scholarship Android track. That's what I'm in, and so that's why we're using Android Studio. That being said, this is a command line tutorial, so this will work in whatever. It's command line, so it's not tied to Android Studio. Just like I said, I'm going to be using Android Studio because that's the program I'm in, and I'm gearing this for students in that program. So, the course overview. These are the topics we're going to cover. These are not in any actual particular order. I just kind of wrote them down as I thought of them, so we're just going to roll with it. So we're going to go over the documentation, where to get Git, where to install it from, configuration stuff, adding it to a new project, making a new project, adding it to a new project, creating remote repositories, setting up the upstream, tracking files. It's not as scary as that sounds. We're going to learn how to push to the master branch, and that's going to take a few steps. So, like I said, some of this is kind of out of place, but we'll get there. So, creating branches, changing files, all this good stuff. We're going to learn how to do all this good stuff, and it doesn't take as long as you think, and some of this stuff happens together. So, don't be scared by the lots of dots here. So, Git documentation, downloading Git, all this stuff. So, first thing you need to do is you need to have Git installed on your system. To do that, you need to go and download Git. So how do you get here? Go to Google. Git. Very first link, Git. All this stuff, downloads. Pick your OS, save it, install it. This will install Git on your system, and it'll add an environment variable so that you can access it through your terminal wherever you are. So the documentation, same length. If at any time you need to look up more information about a command and you don't want to do it through the terminal, which you can come to their documentation website, and there's tons and tons of stuff. There's tutorials, there's all kinds of guides. Pick on something and you get all the different options and things that you can do with it. So we're not going to spend too much time on this. Now there is this handy dandy cheat sheet right here. I use this a lot. Nobody can remember everything. I have this thing open a lot. So all of the commands, the basic commands that you need to know, if you forget, are right here inside this cheat sheet. Like I said, I have it up a lot. So I can never remember everything. So I know this slide is an overview, but I forgot a slide because we actually have to make a project first. And while we're over here, we'll go to the internet here. I'm going to sign out. You also need to have a GitHub account. Get rid of that stuff so you can see this. So you need to sign up for an account if you don't have one already. It's totally free. You don't have to pay any money. Use it, pick a username, your email, your password, and go. So I'm going to click sign in. I'm just going to sign in. Excuse me. And then you get into your stuff right here. So let's make a new project. Start a new project. Git command line stuff. Everybody likes stuff. Next. Next. I'm going to pick basic activity because I'm lazy and I don't want to type stuff, and all I want to do is add and delete stuff. So this way I don't have to type anything. Next. Finish. All right, we're going to give it a minute. Building. I'm going to open this up to a few things that I know we're going to mess around with. Okay, so it's done being built. Let's take a look at the directory. So there's no .git file or .git directory in here. So Git has not been initialized in this project yet. So we're going to need to do that. Now, on the bottom left here, there's some tabs. We want to open Terminal. Now, Terminal in Android Studio is going to automatically put you in your directory, which is nice because you don't have to mess around with changing directories, which is nice. So the first thing we need to do is we need to initialize Git. Well, we can do that first. Use that to use Git init. It'll say initialized empty Git repository in blah, 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 blah. Now, if Git yells at you, and Git might yell at you and say, hey, I don't know who you are, you're going to need to type in a few things. Git config -- global user dot name blah blah blah. Just put your name in there. So if Git doesn't know who you are, it's going to yell. It's going to say, I don't know who you are. I need to know who you are. This is so that when you make commits, it can put your name in there and say, this person made this commit. So that's the only reason it's there. And so you'll also will need to do user.email and then your email address in there. I already have those set up, so I'm not going to do those. Okay, so we have Git initialized in this project, and we can see that if we go back in here and we have this Git folder. So we know Git is initialized in this project. Okay, so next we need to create the remote repository because we can't send our files without a remote repository or they won't know where to go. And yeah, just ignore that, no place there. So we're going to go to the GitHub website with our username. We're going to click the plus sign for the new repository and we're going to get to the quick setup screen, and don't close the screen. So we're here. I'm using the beta. Yours might look different, but there's always going to be this plus sign next to your picture. Click new repository. Give it a second. So we're going to make a new repository name. Yeah, that works. Now, you can give it a description. It's optional. I'm not going to bother. Public or private. If you don't pay for a plan, it's public. There's a paid plan for private, and that just hides your repos. I don't have that, so we can initialize it with a README. I'm not going to bother. This is the basics. Create repository. Okay, so now we're on the quick setup screen. Right there, I'm pointing. Don't close the screen. We need it. Okay, so setting up the tracking in the upstream is what we're doing now. So we're going to go back to the quick setup screen. We're going to copy a line and we're going to go back into Android Studio. And then this says push version master, but we have to do a few things first. Go back on the quick setup screen. Right here, under push existing repository, we're going to copy this whole line. This is what we're going to use to set up that upstream. Back in Android Studio, we're going to paste that in. And we're going to hit enter. Okay, now notice nothing happened. To verify that this worked, we're going to type in git, all commands start with git, remote -v, and it's going to show us our origin. So right now we can see the fetch origin and the push origin, and they're the same. And we'll get into pushing and fetching and all that in just a bit. Okay, so now, like I said, some of this stuff's out of order, and so now we're going to get things in order. So if you look up here, I pushed a button. Uh-oh. So do you want to add the following file to Git? And all I did was I clicked content main, and Android Studio said, oh, I see you have Git initialized, but you don't have any files added. Do you want to add this file? I'm going to click no because I want to show you how to do it through the command line. You can click yes, and it will automatically add the file for you, and then it saves you a step. But command line only for nerds, and it makes you feel awesome, like a super hacker. So we want to look at the status of the files. Git status. I am going to increase this We don't need the other stuff. Okay, so we see these files in red. Git ignore, idea, app. Notice this is a directory. So all of the stuff inside this directory is going to be added when we do this command. There are two ways to add a file. You can see right here, nothing added to commit, but tracked files are present. So red means they're being tracked but not added. We can do git add space. Now, like I said, there's two ways to do this. You can type in the name of the file and it will add them one by one. Or you can work smarter, not harder, by pushing a dot, the decimal. This will add every file that's been changed that's red. You don't have to type in individuals. Okay, so now they've all been added. Ignore this line ending line. It's because I'm on a Windows machine and it likes Linux. So we type in git status again. We'll see there all this ugly greenish yellow color. This new file. What this means is they've been added and they're now in what's called a staging area. There's three areas. There's not added, there's staging, and there's the commit bucket. We need to add these to the commit bucket. We do that by going git commit -m. -m is a flag. It stands for message. So space, open quotes. We want to give this a meaningful message. Anytime you make a commit, you want to describe what you did so that when you look at these later on, if you have to look at the log, you can look at it and say, oh, I know exactly what happens in that commit. If I go back there, it's spelled out for me right there. It's not a mystery. We're going to do initial commit because this is the first time we're committing. It's the initial commit. It's going to be our starting point, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, now it says created mode and all this fancy stuff. Don't worry about that. Now if we do git status, okay, it's going to say nothing to commit, working tree clean, on branch master. Now we can push to the origin. Git push origin master. What master is it's the master branch. If you look above right there, you'll see on branch master right here. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you how to view the branches, make a new branch and all that stuff. But for now, just understand we are on the master branch. We want to take our local repository and we're going to push it to the remote master branch. Now, I'm going to get a fatal error because I need to type in my username and my password for GitHub. You may or may not get this. I get it because I specifically set mine up. I'm a security nut, so I have to type it in. You may not need to do this. So I'm going to type correctly my username, password. I hit enter, and it's going to do all this fancy dancy stuff. All right, so total 77 right there. Object 100% 77 to the website. New branch, master, master. So let's take a look at the website and see what that really means. So here we are back at the website, and this is the initial screen. I didn't close it down. So if I just click on Git toot or hit refresh, whatever, now we're going to see we have stuff in this repository. So everything we had inside of Android Studio is now living up here on the website. So we can go and we can see it on the website. So you can go through and click app and all that stuff. Branches. Branches are cool. We're going to learn about branches. No, we didn't climb a tree. Excuse me. So back in Android Studio, we want to check the branches. So if we type in git branch, it's going to show us master with an asterisk next to it. Now, I mentioned earlier that this tutorial is geared for the students in the Grow with Google Scholarship for the Android stuff. When we turn in a project in this program, we need to turn it in on the master branch. However, I do not recommend you do things only on the master branch. The reason you want a versioning control system like Git is so that when you make changes, if you screw up, you can go backwards in time. Kind of like a video game. You make incremental save points through commits. you can go back in time. Branching is a way to organize what you're doing. You make what's called feature branches. So if I'm going to add in a media player, I make a branch called media player, and I do all the media player stuff on that branch. Once I'm done with that, and I'm happy with that, I can take that and I can flatten it down into the master branch. Another feature branch, some more work. I'm happy with that. It works. There's no problems. I can flatten it down on the master branch. Or what I like to do, keep adding feature branches. At the very end, when I'm done and everything is good, I flatten everything down together into the master branch, because then we have to turn, when we submit our projects to the reviewers, they're looking at the master branch. They're not going to go through all your branches and check everything. It has to be on the master branch. Eventually, we have to merge into the master branch, which just means everything gets flattened down into one thing. So we're going to make a new branch. To do that, git checkout -b. B is the flag for branch. Now we're going to give the branch a name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text views. So I'm going to call this branch layout changes. I'm going to change a layout file. Now it says switch to a new branch, layout changes. So if we do git branch, now we see that layout changes is in puke green with an asterisk. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. So inside my layout here, I'm just going to copy this text view. I'm going to paste it a few times. All right. I'm going to go into activity main, and I'm going to paste text files a few times. Just because I want files to change so we can see what happens. So now I am happy with my layout changes. I've done everything I want to do to my layouts. My layouts are done. So this feature branch for layout changes is done. So if I go back to the terminal, I type in git status, and some of this is a little repetitive. Yes, we're going to see that we have 2 files modified. These files have changes, but they've not been added staging. They're not fully tracked yet. So we type in git add the dot, so we can add them both at the same time. Now they're in staging. Now we want to commit them. Every time we stage a file, if we're happy with it, we want to commit it. That puts it in that magical mystery bucket for commits. Git commit -m for message. Finished project layouts. Because we're cool and we finished it all. We're going to hit enter. It's going to say 2 files changed. Now, we do not have to push this yet. If we want to keep making changes to this branch, and most likely you won't finish it all in one go, you can make incremental commits. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that anyway. So let's delete this. Push this back up. So now, again, we'll do git status. And so we see that we made this again. So we need to make another commit. Git commit -m. Had to go back. Fix an error. We made the commit. Didn't add it. Ha! You push up a few times, we can cycle through the commands we've used. So I'm going to do git add dot. Okay, so now it's added. And I'm going to hit git up a few times. It didn't work. Git commit finish layouts. Git commit -m had to go back and fix an error. Okay, so now it's been added. So how do we check for commits? How do we know things have been committed? What do we do? So there's a log. We can access the log 2 ways. There's an ugly way, there's a not so ugly way, and then there's a cheat we're going to look at. So we're going to look at the super ugly way first. Git log. Pretty simple. Okay, so now we're going to see the extra long version of the log. So we can see we have this commit, this giant commit ID, head, layout changes, head. What this means is you're at the very tip top of your Git branches. You're working on top. There's nothing above where you're at. We're going to see the author, Thunderboy, which is me, my email, the date it was done, and the message. See the second commit we made down here with the giant ID. You don't see head, layout changes, because this is the head. This is where you're at. It's showing you, hey, this is the last commit that was made. This is where you're at. So finish layout process, and then the initial commit, which is showing it was done on origin master and the branch master. Now, that's ugly. A lot of information. It's all over the place. So if you do git log --one line, is a much easier to read version of the log. Very simple. Much shorter commit ID. All the same information. You don't have the author and the email, but if you're the only one working on it, you know who you are. You know you did it. So this is good. Now, the cheating way. Said this is all going to be an Android Studio command line, but I may have lied a little. Down here, there's a version control tab. If you click that and go to log, there is a very, very pretty visual log. Kind of recommend you using this. It's easier to look at. It's got all the information. You can click on one of these and you get all the information over here. Click on this file, right click, show diff. What this is going to do is it's going to show you this side, the file before the changes, this side, the file after the changes. I'm going to show you how to do this in the command line. It's super ugly. I recommend doing it here. Back to the terminal. All right, so how do we push the branch we made? So we made a new branch. So we can look again, get branch. We've got this branch, layout changes. Layout changes doesn't exist on the website yet. Go over here, we look, branch, there's only one branch, master. It doesn't exist here. So how do we get that there? Very, very easily. So before I push a branch, I always do get branch so that I can see the name of the branch that I'm on, so that I don't misspell it. So what you're going to do, get push origin, and now the name of the branch you want to push. Layout changes. And I've got an extra space back there. Enter. Now I'm going to have to type in my username and password again. And it sends things away to the internet and to the ether. It's telling me right here, new branch, layout changes, layout changes. So if I go back to the website and I refresh this, now my layout changes branch is there. If I click code, right here, it shows me branch master. So I can change to layout changes. Now I'm on that branch. I can go through here and I can see all the code on the layout changes branch. The master branch wasn't changed. It's still the beginning starting point. We didn't change anything on there. All right, so pulling and fetching. For the students in this program, you're not going to have to do this. The goal, the reason you do a pull and a fetch is, let's say you have more than one person working on a project. You and Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo is working on the same branch as you, or maybe a new branch. Joe pushes his project changes up to the website, the GitHub repository. You've made some changes. You go to push your changes up to the repository. It's on the same branch. You're going to get a message that says, somebody made changes ahead of you. That branch is ahead of you by so many changes. You need to pull the changes first, then submit your changes. In that instance, you would do a get pull origin and then whatever the branch name is, or a get fetch origin branch name. These are technically the same thing. Pull does two things. It fetches and it merges the changes automatically. When you do just a get fetch, you get to go through the changes and look to see what they are before you merge them in. I'm not going to show this because we're not going to need to use it in this course. If you want to learn more about get, pull, and fetch, you can go to the reference. You can find pull and fetch in here. Let's go and find it. Debugging F pull because I can't read. And you can learn all about get pull. All that looks crazy. It's not that complicated, I promise. Conflicts and diffs. Now, I showed you the diffs earlier. We're going to go through it a little bit here. I'll talk about it. So if you want to do it in the command line, I told you I was going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you. You can do get diff branch, get diff head, get diff file. Lots of different ways we're going to do this. And then, lol, just kidding. We're going to use Android Studio for this one. Ha ha ha. I showed you how to do that in Android Studio. I'll show you how to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in get diff, and I'll do master. And it's going to open up this stupid, horrible, I hate this thing. So we were on the new branch we created, layout changes. And so we want to see the difference between layout changes and master. So what we did is we typed in get diff master. So it's showing diff, showing the difference between activity main XML, a bunch of random stuff. What it's doing is it's showing this right here. Pluses means add, red minuses means deleted. It's showing us the difference between the two files. If we just keep hitting enter, it's going to keep showing us the differences. This is why I hate this thing. Control C will get you out. Okay, so next, revert, check out previous commits. So we're going to need to revisit the log. We're going to get the commit ID. We're going to talk a little bit more about the head, detached head, and putting everything into a new branch. All right, so back here over in Android Studio, we're going to revisit the log. Get log dash dash, oops, one line. So what we need is the commit ID. This is the commit ID. This is the commit ID. What we want to do is we're going to pretend this right here. We're going to pretend we messed up. We messed up pretty bad. Like, we have to go back to the beginning of the game, messed up bad. So the reason we do these commits is because if we mess up like this, we can go back. So we're going to copy this. And down here, we're going to type in get checkout. We're going to paste that ID in. We're going to hit enter. We're going to get all this stuff. You are now in a detached head state. Look around, make experimental changes, and commit them. You can discard any commits, all this information. Basically what it's saying is anything you do from now on, unless you put it in a new branch, is going to get lost. So we know we messed up. We want to put it in a new branch. So we're going to do get checkout -b. Better layout changes. Okay, so now we switch to a new branch, which means now anything that we do, any commits that we make, they're going to be saved. We can make them commits. So we're going to go in here, and so we did mess up here because we don't want this here. it messed up. So we're going to save. We're going to go back. Right, get status. We're going to see the XML file got changed. Git add. It should all look repetitive by now. So git commit -m message fixed up the horrible mistake we made. And now we can push it up under this new branch. Like I said, I always do git branch first so I don't misspell the names, so I can look at them. Git push origin and the name of the branch. Better layout. And I have my username and password again. And I messed up the password. And it pushed it up. So as simple as that. We've made changes, we've created branches, we've pushed them up to the website. It's really straightforward. It's not complicated. As I said earlier, in this program, we have to submit the master branch. Right now, we're not on the master branch. We're on the better layout changes branch. If we were to submit this and the reviewer had the master branch, it would be the very beginning. They'd say, hey, gave me an empty repository. So to fix that, what we need to do is we need to think about branch order. We want to be on the master branch, and we want to merge down stuff from the other branches. So we're going to check out the master branch. Git check out master. Now we're on the master branch. We can verify this. Git branch. Hey, we're on the master branch. It's puke green with an asterisk. We need to pull down everything into the master branch so that we can turn it in. We're done with our project. We're finished. So as you can see right now, these are the files the way they were on the master branch. So what we need to do is we want to type in git, not right there, git merge, and then the name of the branch. Better layout changes. Okay, and it's going to do this. So you're going to see updating, blah, 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 fast forward. Don't worry about that. Path, all those plus signs. It's saying that it added a bunch of stuff. Main, content main. Now we reloaded this, you can see we have these new things. So we're good to go. So now we can push to master. Git push origin master. And I have to do my username and stuff. And away it goes. Let's go check the website. Internet is cool. Now we have branches. Good code. We can see master. And over here we can see it was updated 3 minutes ago. That needs to be refreshed. Go into here. Oh, see all the stuff we added. So now we can turn this in and the reviewer is going to be like, yeah, you turned in a full project. And that's the end. You guys made it. So if you think I went too fast, if something you didn't understand, let me know. And I will try to explain it better because sometimes I can go really fast and maybe I missed something and you have a question. Yeah, just type it out, hit me up on Slack, whatever you need to do. All right.